Welcome back to the channel. And in this video, we're going to be debunking some famous martial arts myths. Maybe not famous, but things that I've seen in the comments basically. We're going to set the record straight on some things that are not true in martial arts. But let me tell you something that is no myth. The fact that my flexibility program is the best thing for you to improve your flexibility and get those kicks to the next level. Follow the exact same method that I used to improve my flexibility and get my kicks up. Hit the first link in the description of the video if you are interested in getting the same results as me, basically. Okay, so the first myth that we're going to be debunking in this video is size doesn't matter in a fight. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that's not a myth, that's true, because technique is more important than size. Yes and no. I think technique is obviously very important, and in many scenarios, yes, a smaller person with good technique would beat a bigger person with no technique, but you can't just disregard the fact that if there's someone that is a lot heavier than you, they are going to have more strength and more weight on you. Like this, it's as simple as that. They're going to be able to, move you around better, and if they get on top of you, you're going to struggle to get out from underneath them. If we're talking about a street situation here or a no rules fight, this is what I mean. If you take it to different disciplines, then maybe the outcome would be slightly different. But we're talking about a no-rules fight, basically, but if you're out in the street. If there is someone who has been, averagely trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, for example, it's a good, solid art, a good grappling art, but this person is 120 pounds, for example, and then they're going up against a 6'3", 220 pound male who's jacked with muscle and really strong, then that may be tough for the smaller opponent. As much as technique is important, strength is also very important. That's why there are weight classes. Otherwise, if size didn't matter, then there would be no weight classes and everyone would be able to fight everyone in boxing and MMA and everything, really, every combat sport. Size does matter to a certain extent. And this point actually leads me on to my second point, which is having big muscles means you can fight. Now, this is obviously absolutely not true. Having big muscles does not mean you can fight. Muscles are just visual. You can't see technique in muscle. Obviously, if someone has a lot of muscle and has also trained and is really good at Muay Thai, then obviously, yeah, they're going to be able to fight pretty well. They've got the power, the size, the speed, the technique. But muscles alone do not equal fighting ability. They're intimidating, I will admit that. If you see a big guy walking down the street, in your head, you're just thinking, oh, he could definitely beat me up. But chances are, if you're trained and he's not, then you'll still have a good chance of being able to beat him. So although size does matter in a fight, big muscles don't automatically mean you can fight. So don't get those two confused and think that I'm just contradicting myself instantly after the first point. Number 3, doing a martial art makes you invincible. Now, a lot of people might think this. As soon as they do martial arts, they've got this image that they're going to go out and anyone could start on them and they're going to be absolutely invincible. They're going to be able to beat everyone up and they're not going to get touched, which is absolutely just not true. Doing a martial art, yes, it will give you a better chance of being able to defend yourself in the streets. Obviously, you're learning techniques that would be effective if used correctly. But situations outside of the dojo or the gym are always going to be unpredictable. There are going to be things you haven't trained for. Like, for example, if someone pulls out a weapon and you do boxing, you've never trained in boxing to be able to defend against the weapon. You don't, then the dynamic completely changes. So doing a martial art gives you a better chance of, say survival, a bit dramatic, but of protecting yourself in the street, but it doesn't make you invincible. So don't go out there thinking that no one can touch you. Because obviously there are also other things in the street that happen that might not happen in your boxing sessions or your kickboxing sessions. Like, people will scratch at your eyes and try and, bite you and stuff like that. So obviously if you do a martial art, you can also do all that stuff, but it doesn't make you invincible to do martial arts. If you do martial arts, is what I meant to say there. Number 4, doing martial arts makes you aggressive. This again is a big myth, because people who don't do martial arts assume that if you do a combat sport or a combat art of some sort, that this has activated a primitive aggression inside you and you're going to be an aggressive and angry person, which is just not true. Martial arts is not about being aggressive and attacking and fighting. It actually does the opposite. It makes you, in my opinion, calmer, more disciplined, more collected. It actually makes you less likely to lash out. Because me personally, I've trained in martial arts for nearly 20 years now, and I feel like it would take a lot to push me to actually fight someone outside. If you do martial arts, you kind of get taught the mentality of only fight if you absolutely have to. Only be aggressive when you need to. I think the reason is because, having done it myself, and I'm sure I'm speaking for every other martial artist as well, having done it, having trained, having watched martial arts fights, I've been to see boxing fights, been to see Muay Thai fights, done combat sparring, like I've done Muay Thai sparring and stuff, and sparring at my karate club, and you learn how dangerous it actually is, which is what I think makes you not want to use it outside of your dojo. So obviously you're training these punches and kicks on pads, and you're hitting these pads, and obviously when you're training with pads, you can hit as hard as you want, really. And you sometimes think, if this connected with a face, then it could kill someone. And obviously you don't want to do that. But even in self-defense, sometimes sometimes you're not aiming to kill them, you're just aiming to get yourself out of there safely. So it can actually be really dangerous. That's why I think martial arts doesn't make you aggressive, it actually makes you the opposite. It teaches you how dangerous it actually is. You do become more dangerous, but it also teaches you how dangerous everything else is and how dangerous getting in fights are, especially when it's unnecessary. It makes you realize how silly it is to go and fight unnecessarily, you know, especially over little things. If you're being attacked, then obviously, yeah, then, you know, let your aggression out just to get away. You know, you're going to have to fight if you can't get away. And then, yeah, you use your training. But yeah, martial arts doesn't make you aggressive. Number 5, getting your black belt means you're the best. You're done. You're done training. That's it. You're out of the door. Obviously, this one is not true. And anyone who has done any martial arts that, you know, involve belt systems like taekwondo, karate, jiu-jitsu, judo, stuff like that, you'll know that when you get to your black belt, it's a great achievement, obviously, to get your black belt. But you almost feel like, oh, well, now I've still got so much to learn. You know, you don't get to black belt and there's not this like revelation of, oh, now I know everything. It's almost the opposite. You realize how little you actually know. Getting your black belt is almost like, think of it like you've not, I wouldn't even say mastered, but you've completed the basics. And now further on from your black belt is just, you know, putting your basics into other things and excelling in further areas of your art. So getting your black belt does not mean you've completed the game. It means you've completed the tutorial and then you're going into the real game now. Number 6, if you are good on the pads, you're good in the ring. This is absolutely not true. I learned this myself the hard way. Looking good when you're doing bag work or pad work is very extremely different to when you actually get in there and start sparring someone or fighting someone. Someone can look very good on the pads, have, you know, beautiful, crisp technique on the pads, but then you put them in the ring and, you know, they don't know what to do because they've not been used to applying these attacks and moves in a real scenario. Take me, for example. I would say my technique when I'm kicking in the air or on pads or on the bag is decent. Like, it's, you know, I've got power and my technique's pretty good, but then the problem I had was when I went doing sparring in sessions and, you know, doing stuff like that, I realized that it's not all about your technique, because obviously I would get a bit pieced up and then I'd be like, oh, like, my techniques look good, but I don't really know how to use them. So one thing that I had to really work on, and I'm still working on, is fight IQ, which is arguably more, like, just as important, if not more important, than your technique. And to some people that comes naturally, some people have to work on it. For me personally, I've got to try and think about it. I've got to try and, you know, work on my movement, my attacks, when to attack, when to defend, when to use which techniques and stuff. Because anyone that does a combat art will know that it is such a different feeling when you actually have an opponent that's fighting back. It's so different. That's why people will say, you know, pads don't hit back, or Bruce Lee said boards don't hit back, because they don't, and it is very different. Number 7, there is an age limit on martial arts. This one's a big myth, because people assume that you want to do martial arts just because you want to, you know, fight professionally. In which case, yeah, it would be better to start younger, so you can work your way up and get to the appropriate level needed by the time you're at your peak physical prime age. But if you just want to do martial arts for enjoyment, self-defense, bit of fitness as well, there is absolutely no age limit. You know, you can be 70, and if you're able to get up and walk and move, then why not? You know, if you're 60 years old and you go into a martial arts session, you're not going to be made to hard spar the 20, 30-year-olds, because obviously that wouldn't be fair, but anyone can do it. Absolutely anyone can join a martial arts club. If you think you're too late to do it, you're absolutely not too late to do it. And if you're in a proper martial arts club or gym, you'll always be welcomed, and people won't make fun of you at all. No one will make fun of you for starting at any age. Everyone will just respect you for giving it a go. Number 8, this is an important one. One style is better than the others. I'm talking to the Muay Thai keyboard warriors here. It is not about the art, it's about the practitioner. There could be a Taekwondo practitioner and a Muay Thai practitioner, and they could fight. It is just about which one of the practitioners is at a higher level in their art. That's pretty much it. Obviously, in some arts, they're not developed to be directly applicable to combat scenarios like, you know, MMA or combat in the street. This doesn't mean they're any less good than some of the arts that can be used in those situations. You know, a lot of people like clown on Aikido, and I've definitely done it as well before. Obviously, when I do it, I'm just joking. I don't mean any disrespect, but Aikido was clearly not developed to be useful in MMA, which seems to be the standard that everyone uses when they decide whether something's good or not. People who do Aikido might just do it for fun or for a bit of fitness. You know, it's not the sole reason that everyone does martial arts is to learn how to fight. If you use the MMA standard as to why an art isn't good, then I don't understand where all these Muay Thai keyboard warriors come from, because Muay Thai is actually, you know, is on its own is not very good in MMA. There are a few flaws in their system that make it a difficult one to transition, you know, such as their stance and their movement. But again, doesn't mean it's any less of an art than anything else. It is all about your personal preference, and if you are talking about direct combat, there are definitely multiple arts that can be used for that. No art is better than the other. It's all about the practitioner. As we've seen in UFC, as we've seen in MMA, where there have been loads of champions from loads of different arts. You know, like there's been karate champions, there have been champions that come from boxing, from kickboxing, from taekwondo, wrestling. All about the practitioner. The art comes into it somewhat, but it is way more about the practitioner. Number 9, martial artists artists don't need strength training. This again is another myth. People sometimes think their martial arts training alone is good enough to help them, you know, build strength and muscle, which is true to an extent. But if you really want to take your martial arts to the next level, having a good strength training program alongside your martial arts training will take it to that next level. Being stronger will only ever improve your martial arts. And people say that if you build too much muscle, you'll get slow, which is true, but only when you get to a very extreme level of size mass. You know, to get to the size where that would be a problem, you would have to really actively try and get to that size. You'd have to be eating so much and training so much weights. Doing that doesn't just, getting that large doesn't just happen. So as long as you're eating right and have a decent strength training routine or program, then you are gonna improve in your martial arts. It will only take it higher. So maybe that could be a flaw in your martial arts training. If you're wondering why you're not getting any better, maybe you need to get stronger. Maybe you need to add in some strength training. And the 10th and final myth that we're gonna debunk in this video: if it looks good, it works well. This is referring to techniques. Obviously, this is not true, and a lot of people know this already. But the things that look good often do not work that well in fights, or they're very hard to pull off in fights. For example, if you look at a Taekwondo 540 kick, it looks really cool, and it's really fun to practice as well. But I would not try that in a fight, because you know, you have to take off, kick, and then land on the kicking leg, pull off a 540. So I'm just not sure why you would try that. But yeah, it's good to train for your, you know, for your training, and it helps you with your technique. They're also just fun to work on. For those reasons, then yeah, fine to train them. But rather than doing big spinny kicks, you know, jumping kicks, it's better in real combat to keep it to, you know, the standard, simple, basic kicks, like low kicks, front kicks, roundhouse, you know, side kick. Those kicks are going to work a lot better than the ones that look incredible on the pads, which are really impressive. And obviously, occasionally, you are going to see people that manage to pull off these kicks, like, you know, tornado kicks and stuff in fight. And they do look really cool when they are landed, but it's just the risk to reward is just not really worth it. Because if you land a tornado kick to the face, it's going to do probably similar damage to a roundhouse kick to the face. So why wouldn't you just do the roundhouse kick? Because that's much more likely to land. So if it looks good, that doesn't mean it works well. Okay, and that brings us to the end of our myth debunking video. Let me know if you disagree or agree with the points that I made in this video. And also let me know another video. And also let me know other video ideas that you'd like me to do, whether it's reacting to things or making videos like this. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. And also, if you are interested in getting my flexibility program and taking your flexibility to the next level as well as your kicks, then go ahead to the first link in the description of the video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.